3 essential tips for riding in a group. It's so pleasant to be in a group of cyclists and riding together. It's one of the most enjoyable athletic things imaginable. You get the sensation of collective consciousness in a very intense way. And the willpower and the mindset and the collective thinking of the group, it becomes almost, when it's working well, a single organism. And you can cover way more ground with the same amount of effort in a group than you will ever be able to when you're by yourself. So group rides are some of the funnest athletic things that you can enjoy in the world. And being safe and enjoying them is also a big part of the allure. When I was a professional cyclist, and one thing I've noticed in the group rides that I have done recently, we had a way of communicating with each other that kept us as safe as humanly possible. We had almost an intuitive rapport with each other for the tempo we needed to go, to anticipate dangerous situations and react to obstacles and dangers as they presented themselves. A lot of the techniques that we developed and involved in our team, the 7-Eleven team and my teammates, are sorely lacking in a lot of the group rides I've done recently. So here's 3 tips to enjoy your experience in group rides further. Tip number 1, and I've noticed this, and this goes throughout the entire level of the sport, all the way up to the top professionals. And I see this every day on the races I commentate on at the professional level. Riders in front do not point out obstacles to the riders behind them nearly as frequently as they need to. When we would train together, when my teammates and I would train together, the front riders point to everything that could cause grief in the line of riders that can't see where they're going as well as the riders in front. Very common courtesy. Point out obstacles, potholes, grates, incredibly dangerous, vehicles that are parked in the road. Just a little signal to the rider behind you lets them know that they need to be alert, to look, and we point right at the obstacle. So all the riders down the line behind know what is coming up, and they in turn point to it. So by the time you're the last guy, you can barely see where you're going. You are totally dependent on the eyes of the riders in front of you to guarantee your safety. Then when you rotate to the front, when it's your turn at the front, you do the same. Then you have an incredibly cohesive group that's as safe as it can be. The second thing I've noticed is riders, rather than make a gesture to point out obstacles, yell out what they're doing. I don't know when this started to develop, but I've noticed it lately. And riders will yell things like, "Slowing!" And every time I hear that, it's just jolting. And it's just, I don't know why people do that, when if you're not paying enough attention to the rider in front of you to not see when they're slowing down, you need to practice more before you go on a group ride. Stopping is another thing people yell. And once you've started slowing, the inevitable conclusion is you'll be stopping. And to hear people yell collectively, I find that very jarring. So my second tip would be not yell, unless it's an absolute emergency. When a car is coming at high speed and it looks like it's inevitable that there will be a collision, unless there's some warning that is yelled out, please don't yell. Of the common sense things that you don't need to yell about. That if your group ride yells at everything and you have one person that doesn't, you could probably carry on yelling out the instructions of what you're doing. But a hand signal is much better than a scream, okay? That's tip number 2. Tip number 3, The agenda of the group is a consensus that's arrived at organically in many ways. And when you realize, when you think about what the consensus might be, do not try to intercede with your own agenda. If a 60-mile ride is planned, for example, and it starts snowing halfway through, and most of the group want to stop and get some coffee. This is just one example. And one or two of the stronger riders want to keep going and insist that the group keep going. That's not going to be a good group ride. That's going to be a bunch of people following the agenda of one or two riders. So do not be that person. If you're going to go on a group ride, always ask yourself, what's the best thing for the group? And act accordingly. If you want to do more miles, if you want to go faster, always ask yourself, is this the best thing for the group? And act accordingly. You can exercise your own free will when you're by yourself at your leisure, but be aware of what is best for the group every minute of every ride throughout the season, and everybody in the group will enjoy group riding a lot more. And like I said, it's one of the great pleasures of bike riding. It has such a powerful allure. Bike clubs, group rides, organized rides, grand fondos, centuries, all the way up to professional racing. There is a collective consciousness. There is a mutually beneficial understanding of what is best for the group all the time. Ask yourself what that might be and act accordingly. All right, everybody, follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Thumbs up, greatly appreciated. Please comment. If you have any other suggestions about some essential tips for enjoying group rides, making them safer, please share them with me in the comment section. If you'd like to subscribe, click on my face. Merchandise, like this rather snappy, long sleeve, red and white BobkeTV t-shirt. Just press on the t-shirt icon and go straight into the merchandise. Thanks a lot, everybody.